at some more word problems involving systems of equations. So our goal, I can solve number of coins or bills / value word problems, and those with number of objects / value problems. So these questions will seem similar, but they've got some differences. So the first example we have here, use this example as a guide if you have a question that gives an amount of coins or bills that have a value attached to them. So Ben has $12.30 in quarters and dimes. If he has 75 coins in all, how many of them are quarters? So we're being asked what the number of quarters are. So that leads us to what we're going to use for our let statements. So remember, our let statements are always tied to what we're trying to find. So we're going to let Q be the number of quarters. Slide this over a little bit. And the other thing that we don't know either, we aren't being asked this, but we don't know the number of dimes either. So we'll also include let D the number of dimes. Now for these problems, we can also use a table. I'm going to set up a table for this one. There we go. And for these ones, we use value, number, and money. So when I'm going to fill this in, these are my quarters here. These are my dimes here. And this is my total here. So kind of similar to the distance, speed, time problems. Now, the value of each quarter is 25 cents, so 0.25. The value of each dime is 10 cents. We don't deal with the total value here. The number of coins we have, this is where our let statements come in. So we're using Q to represent the number of quarters, and D represents the number of dimes. And we know that there are 75 coins in total. So the total number of coins is 75, so we'll put the 75 there. Now to figure out the value of quarters you have, each quarter is worth 0.25. You have Q quarters, so this is going to be 0.25 Q. And then for the dimes, each dime is worth 0.10. We have D number of dimes, so we're going to write 0.10 with D. And the other information they give us in the question is that the total amount of money that we have in quarters and dimes is $12.30. So much like we did in the last note, we've got one equation created in that column, and our second equation is created in that column. So I'll transfer it into equation form. So again, there's one equation and two. So if I come over here, Q plus D equals 75. And then 0.25Q, 0.10D equals 1230. So I've got equation 1 and equation 2. The other day we did questions that involved decimals, and we discussed how we could change it to get rid of the decimals. And that's what we're going to do here. So you can see in this second equation, these are all decimals to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to take equation 2, and I'm going to multiply it by 100 to help get rid of those decimals. So when I multiply by 100, the decimals move 2 to the right. So 0.25q times 100 becomes 25q. Then I'm going to get plus 10d. And then on the other side of the equal sign, the decimal moves 2 places as well. And we get 1,230. So I've got equation 3 there. I've got equation 1 at the top. Now, if I'm going to use elimination, I can multiply equation 1. Let's multiply it by 10. If I multiply it by 10, I'm going to get 10q plus 10d equals 750. So that's going to be equation 4. Okay. As soon as you've matched up the numbers, draw a line underneath there, and now you have to figure out whether you're going to add or subtract the equations to get rid of the variable. In this case, we have a 10 and a 10, so I'm going to have to take equation 3, subtract equation 4. So 25q minus 10q is going to give me 15q. 10d minus 10d is nothing, so we can just leave that. And then if we do 1230 minus 750, you guys can double check for me, but I think we get 480 there. And so now to figure out the number of quarters, we divide by 15, and we get Q equals 32. Now, if you remember back to the question at the beginning, they only asked us how many quarters there were. So in this case, we don't have to go ahead and figure out what the value of D is. We can just go ahead and write, therefore, Ben has 32 quarters. We'll just make a note here. We are only asked for number of quarters. Okay. So that's one question there. In the second and last example here, in this one we have the number of objects and their value in these questions. So we'll start the same way. We're talking about pencils and pens here, and we're trying to find the price for each item. So that means one variable is going to represent the price of a pencil. And that means then that Y is going to be the price of a pen. Okay, and we can set up a table for this one as well. And this one will look similar to the last one. See what I mean here? So across the top, instead of value, which we had before, we're doing price for these guys. And then we've got two different people here. We've got Olivia and Lexi. Our variables always go on the side here. So our variables here in words are pencils and pens. They're the two different things we're dealing with. So we've got total on the bottom here. And in this case, we can fill in our x and y first. So x is the price of a pencil, and y is the price of a pen. For Olivia's situation, she bought 6 pencils, and she bought 4 pens, and she spent $12.50. Okay, Lexi bought 4 pencils and 3 pens for $9. So in this question here, we've got one equation in that column and one equation in that column. So if we write these as equations, use that as equation 1 and that as equation 2. So 6x plus 4y equals 1250. And 4x plus 3y equals 9. 1 and 2 here. And you can see in this case for elimination, we're going to have to multiply each equation by a number. I'm going to multiply, let's see, equation 1 times 3 and equation 2 times 4. And that'll create the same number in front of the y's. So equation 1 times 3, 3 times 6x is going to be 18x. 3 times 4y is going to be 12y. And then 3 times 1250 is going to be $37.50. That's going to be our new equation 3. And then equation 2 times 4, so it's going to be 4 times 4x is 16x. 4 times 3y is 12y. 4 times 9 is 36. Now that I've got the same number in front of my y's, I put a line underneath, and it's a 12y and a 12y. So we're going to have to subtract to get 0y there. So 18x minus 16x is 2x. And then 37.50 minus 36 is $1.50. So to figure out the value of x, I divide that by 2, and I end up with x equals 0.75. Okay, they want us to figure out the price for each item, so I'm not done yet. I need to sub x equals 0.75 into one of the equations. Doesn't matter which one. Looks like equation 2 might be easier, but it would work in both. So I'm going to do 4 times 75 cents plus 3y equals 9. So we are going to get 4 times 0.75 ends up being 3. So 3y equals 9 minus 3. So y is going to be 6 divided by 3. So y is equal to 2. So therefore, keeping in mind that x is the cost of a pencil and y is the cost of a pen, so therefore, the pencils cost 75 cents each, and the pens are $2 each. Okay, these are longer questions to do for sure, but hopefully you're happy with your skill level as far as solving systems of equations, and you're okay with that part of these word problems. We'll be doing some practice on the beginning of these word problems, but hopefully once you get your equations, you're good to solve them. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow in class.